Alright guys, so we're going to talk about the Freedom Convoy and GoFundMe seizing the funds for the group. Now, obviously GoFundMe says it will hold millions of dollars raised by Canadian truckers protesting against the mandates, citing police reports of violence. Now, they have since backflipped on some of this stuff, but we'll break it all down. The Freedom Convoy has been rallying since last weekend, and more protesters are expected in Toronto and Ottawa. In a statement, the crowdfunding website said it withhold donations already made and refund donors who fill out a request form. They have backflipped on that since. We'll talk about that in a sec. Another online petition platform has offered to take donations for the convoy instead. Funny how you don't want to put a link to it. On the thousands who have joined the trucking protest, 3 people so far have been arrested. Okay, there's more than 1,000. There's like 50,000 for a start. And they were able to find supposedly 3 people. Okay, interesting. One for carrying a weapon. I would love to see the paperwork on that. And, find out if he's a Fed. 1 charged with mischief under $5,000. Whatever that is. And another was uttering threats on social media. This is what it takes to literally claim that GoFundMe is no longer supporting you. Mind you, they still support Black Lives Matter. But, regardless. Donations of the GoFundMe Freedom Convoy 2020 had reached $10 million. In a statement on Friday, GoFundMe said that demonstrations were peaceful when the fundraisers first started, but since violated the terms of service, prohibiting the promotion of violence or harassment. So tell me whether organisers have literally promoted the violence or harassment. We have evidence from law enforcement that previous peaceful demonstration had become occupation. You mean like Chaz, which you still allowed GoFundMe to run, right? That occupation. The thing where it literally was Capitol Hill occupation zone, or protest, literally had occupation in the name, but you were okay with that one, but you weren't okay with this. Next time Black Lives Matter sits there and says that they're against the establishment, just start laughing. The 1 million had already been released, but only go to participants who went to the Ottawa peacefully protests, said GoFundMe. No further funds will be directly distributed to the Freedom Convoy organisers. We're working with organisers to send all remaining funds to credible and established charities, verified by GoFundMe. Like Black Lives Matter, most likely. So another online platform, Givesendgo, announced it would accept donations for the convoy shortly after GoFundMe backed out. Notice they had to put it halfway down. In response to the objections from the Ottawa residents, blah, 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 right? Okay. The vast, overwhelming majority of people that are there are actually peaceful protesting. Well, they're honking their horn, so I don't know if you want to say peaceful, but they're protesting. Is it an occupation? Sure, I guess you could call it that. But so was CHOP. And guess what? GoFundMe had no problems with that. So if you're okay with CHOP, which is literally Capitol Hill occupation protest, then you can't claim that this occupation, if you want to call it that, is a bad thing. Because you were okay with the Black Lives Matter Antifa literally occupying the Capitol Hill. Now, obviously, people start having a conversation. Is GoFundMe violating its own terms for the Freedom Convoy? So the truck convoy is taken out of Ottawa is protesting requirements of truck drivers using mandates. Let's see if I actually answer the question. The GoFundMe, the crowdfunding sources have already been extensively in the media as used an example of popularity. Terms of service violations. GoFundMe could say, of course, that it wants to be neutral as how much money raised on its platform is used and how hosting a campaign does not imply supporting. But it's important to keep in mind that GoFundMe and other crowdfunding platforms regularly ban campaigns for running afoul of terms of service. GoFundMe does not allow campaigning for the legal defense of people accused of hate, which they didn't do, intolerance, and violent crimes, which they weren't. It's also removed campaigns that spread information about safety and campaigns associated with the pornography and sexual content. None of that applies here. But like I said, they also went through and they were completely fine with, obviously, the chop GoFundMe. So at the end of the day, if you wanted to make any complaint against GoFundMe, it's that they're discriminating against them. So obviously, like I said, GoFundMe has issued a backflip on this. To simplify processes for our users, we'll be refunding all donations to the Freedom Convoy 2020 fundraiser. This refund will happen automatically. You do not need to submit a request. Donors can expect to see the refund within 7 to 10 days. To be honest, I think the reason why they backflipped on this was because people were going to do a chargeback. And at the end of the day, that chargeback costs GoFundMe $15 every time someone does it. And there would have been millions of people who donated money. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, certainly, even possibly a million people. And that would have cost them millions of dollars. So that's why I think they did it. I think they realized at the end of the day that this could go very, very wrong. And it also is possibly illegal. Also, something we could probably talk about is DeSantis. So, obviously, another thing that happened was Ron DeSantis said he will investigate GoFundMe for fraud after the site commandeered $9 million in the donations of truckies. Obviously, this is before they did the backflip. To be honest, I think this is probably also something that they were really, really scared about. They could have possibly been found guilty, and I think that would have been really bad for them. So, like I said, that's why I think they backflipped. Yeah, obviously, at the end of the day, the Freedom Convoy is now moved over to Givesendgo, which is a Christian fundraising campaign. And as you can see, they have raised... Hang on. Sorry, my bad. I hit the wrong button. I know, it's anticlimactic. Freedom Convoy. They have raised $4.6 million in like 2 days. A day or 2 days. This is obviously a huge boost to GoFundMe. To Givesendgo. GoFundMe, on the other hand, has obviously lost a lot of credibility with the community. At the end of the day, this is going to end up giving GoFundMe a very black mark against their name. As you can see here, obviously, you're an inspiration to the rest of the world. If you not fight for what's right when you can easily win without bloodshed, blah, blah, blah. Hold the line. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Hong Kong. I love it. So at the end of the day, they're aiming for $16 million. They've raised $4.6 million. They have literally halved what GoFundMe raised in a week in just under 2 days. So obviously the $16 million is definitely well within their grasp. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of shenanigans going on because the alternative fundraiser for the Freedom Convoy claims that DDoS attacks and bots were deployed. Despite technical issues, GoFundMe competitor Givesendgo has managed to raise over $1 million in just 12 hours, and as we see now, it's worth over $4.6 million. So despite being DDoS attacked and attacked by a bunch of bots, they still raised over $1 million in 12 hours. We're hearing about, but have not validated, that Givesendgo is experiencing server issues and possible denial of service attack. If true, Rumble would be happy to help in any way we can. We have equipment and engineers on standby. Please feel free to reach out, said Rumble in a tweet. Givesendgo, we have been under heavy DDoS attack and bot attack, and despite all this, we still managed to fundraise 5 times faster than GoFundMe did. GoFundMe raised $10 million in 3 weeks. Givesendgo campaign has already raised over $1.1 million in just 12 hours. Now, obviously, this is why their site was very, very slow. It was having technical issues, but obviously now it is very much up and running. So I will put a link to the Freedom Convoy in the video. Please feel free to go and donate if you haven't already and you can afford it. So also Givesendgo hit with DDoS attack to stop trucker convoy. Fascist strike back. So at the end of the day, the radical left really doesn't want people who fight for freedom to support the masses. First, GoFundMe pulled down the trucker convoy donation and then started refunding over $9 million instead of giving it to the freedom fighters. Now upset fascists have attacked Givesendgo to prevent them from accepting donations. Now, at the end of the day, to be honest, why do I think GoFundMe? Why do I think GoFundMe did this? I think they're under extreme amounts of pressure from political parties and political leaders in Canada and America. I think the deep state is very concerned about what is going on there. They were kind of hoping that if the mainstream media didn't cover it, that at the end of the day that this thing would just fizzle out. The problem is, it didn't work. The problem is that alternative media was there to cover it. People were tuning in to watch our streams about this sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, obviously the word was still able to get out. And they've been very well funded. And I think the overwhelming support that these guys have been received, the over $10 million that GoFundMe had raised, that's a huge number. I don't think anything has ever raised that much money in its life. Especially not some protest anyway. So at the end of the day, I think that the establishment has worried, has panicked. So they decided to put a break on the situation. And then when that sort of didn't work, they then tried to take the GoFundMe down. Because at the end of the day, they can't have these truckers having this support. It's bad. It's bad for the establishment. There is going to be a third video up today where we do talk about some new research that's come out to show about lockdowns and how ineffective they were. But at the end of the day, this is why I think the establishment did it. Was because at the end of the day, they can't have people like the average day person going through and being funded and having this support. It looks bad for the narrative. So, yeah, I was kind of hoping to be on the radio tonight, but they are doing something else, so I just hung up and I'll do them tomorrow. I'll talk to them tomorrow. We'll do a radio spot tomorrow, hopefully. But at the end of the day, guys, yeah, as for this, big shout out to Givesendgo. I will put a link in the description below to the Freedom Convoy, so please feel free to go and donate. As for GoFundMe, you've lost my business. I never trusted you in the first place. I sure as hell don't trust you anymore now. And a lot of people are threatening to never use your services ever again. So I guess you just Patreon yourself. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Let us know if your thoughts about Givesendgo and GoFundMe. Do you think GoFundMe did this because they were threatened by the establishment? Or do you think they were in ties with them, or a bit of both? Let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section. Apart from that, have a great night. See you in the third video. It's going to be spicy. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.